Crew Chief 36 here, and in this Microsoft Flight Sim video, we fly the new Miltech Simulations M2K-C Fighter. And I'm going to be checking out the missiles, bombs, guns, and of course I'll be pushing it to its limits carving a canyon. But unfortunately, the fly-by-wire flight model needs some work. I'm using one finger, I'm barely pulling back, and all of a sudden the aircraft just jumps up. Okay, this thing's pretty easy to start. Let's go down here, throw the battery power on, go and throw a bus transfer on, and then right here there's another switch, that's your external power. And then we'll look back down here to your starting panel. We'll go and turn our ignition vent on, turn our fuel cut to open the starter guard, and start it, and then we can go and close that up. Engine should be starting up here. Our engine N1 speed is indicated by this gauge, and this is our total temp. Once everything's started up, we can go and turn the alternator on, external power off, and we'll come down here and we'll throw our ignition vent back to off. Alright, let's go and taxi this thing out of here. Now, very important step, this little paddle switch right here is your toggle nose wheel steering. Make sure you click that paddle, otherwise you won't be able to turn on the ground. I haven't found a way to button map it to anything, so make sure you go ahead and click that. Go and take our park brake off. Another thing I've noticed is when you're taxiing and turning, it just seems weird. Like right now I'm only going 8 knots and I'm full rudder deflection and it's not turning. And if you look at the external view model, you know, that nose wheel is definitely turning pretty good. I feel like it should be able to turn sharper at this only 8 knots. You have to be almost going 0 for this thing to really turn. Going to apply full power, come off the brakes. We'll go and toggle our afterburner button. And 160. She takes off pretty smooth. I wish she landed as smooth as she took off. Landing gear up. Alright, we're going to pull back out of burner. We're already doing about 280 knots. The cockpit modeling, everything looks really good in here, as expected from Miltech Simulations. Alright, let's see how nimble this thing is, huh? Doing about 460 knots. I mean, it's pretty fun to fly if you're just wanting to carve some canyons. Whoa, that was weird. Not really sure what happened there. Still doing about 350. I will say it's a little annoying. You have to toggle the afterburner button. In 2020, I noticed when you just go to full power, it automatically toggles afterburner. And in 2024, you have to actually have a button toggled to engage the afterburner. Alright, let's try to fire a couple of missiles here. So we'll go and select our missiles. We'll go and arm it. And then we should be good to go there. And the button that you map it to is called toggle water rudder. And I have that mapped to my trigger here. And we'll just go and fire one. Oh yeah, you can hear it pretty good. Oh, yep, there's the missile. Do a little outside view here, see how that looks. Okay. That's pretty cool. Now they said eventually you'll be able to lock on and track targets, but as of right now, it's currently not implemented. It'll just pick a random direction and go wherever it wants to go. Alright, and that was our last one. So to fire any of the weapons, you want to go ahead and use toggle water rudder. And for the gun, I like to put input repetition on, so that way it'll actually fire in fully automatic and it won't just do bursts. So if we go down here, throw our toggle gun arm on, you can see our gun symbology pops up on our HUD. And then pull the trigger, and with the input repetition, you can just hold it down. That's pretty cool. Okay, if you want to drop chaff and flare, how you do that is you come down here to your master decoy switch. You can go to semi if you want to control each one by yourself, or you can go to auto program. You have different program selectors, and in the manual will state what they do. So well, I will say it was working earlier, and now it's not. Interesting. You can hear them popping off, but you can't actually visually see them. Like I said, I tried it before, and it definitely worked. So they got a couple issues to work through for sure. All right, now let's go and do a little bombing around here. So we'll go and select our bombs. We have laser guided bombs right now. When you have the right selection, you'll notice you'll get a P. Make sure you turn your gun off. And now we have HUD symbology of our CCIP line, which is constantly computed impact point. And we'll go see if we can drop these things. I'll go and set it just to ripple both of these off. So put it to 2, so it'll drop both bombs off. You want to be around 200 to 300 knots, at least what they say in the manual. Alright, so there's our constantly computed impact point. So we will go ahead and drop right there. Alright, so I just heard him drop. Oh, there we go. Saw a little crater there. Okay. Pretty cool. So the plane is pretty awesome. It's modeled very well. The interior models are great. The exterior models are great. All the features are cool. The bomb drop, the missile drop, chaff flare when it works. Biggest issue I have with this plane is the fly-by-wire flight model. You know, it's too twitchy and sensitive to small inputs, even with using the top-of-the-line WinWing flight stick. Now, I may not be a pilot, but I was a crew chief in the Air Force for 12 years and got to do some cool shit, like flying an F-16. So to show that I have a little bit of knowledge in what I'm talking about, here's me getting to fly in an F-16, which in case you didn't know, is also a 4th generation fighter with a fly-by-wire system. And during my flight, the PIC, or pilot in charge, gave me the controls during that time. You know, I performed basic maneuvers such as turns, barrel rolls, stalls, taking it above the speed of sound, and you know, the one thing I know is the fly-by-wire flight model in this M2K-C is absolutely way too sensitive and twitchy to small inputs, which as you'll see in my landing attempts, it makes it next to impossible to butter this thing in for a landing. And to further prove that I know how to land, you know, here's me buttering some landings in multiple aircraft in this sim. pull power back to idle, flare, and we're down. Super smooth. And we're on the ground. And do a nice little flare. And we're down. So as you can see, I'm very familiar with landing military fighters in the sim. I got this input viewer here so we can show how little input I'm providing and how aggressive the fly-by-wire system is. If anyone has the WinWing stick, you know that these sticks are very nice. They're, you know, you can have just insane amount of control movement on it. Very good fidelity. But even with all that, this thing is very hard to land. The fly-by-wire needs some serious work done to it. And so this is your E-bracket here, and basically you want to get your flight director. Oh, whoa, see how twitchy? This is what I'm talking about. So I'm using one finger. Oh, getting a little slow here. Let's get back up to, we want to be about 160 to 180 in our final approach turn. So here's our input veer here, and you can see that just, I'm using one finger, I'm barely pulling back, and all of a sudden the aircraft just jumps up. It makes really small movements, almost next to impossible. I tried air-to-air refueling with this thing, and it's just you can't do it. You can't do any fine little movements. So here we are, 165 knots. I'm barely pulling back the stick, barely, and then it just immediately shoots up. It makes landing extremely hard when you're trying to flare this thing. Alright, we should be good here. Alright, so here we are. We're about 170 knots. We're rolling out on center line. Our E-bracket and our flight director, everything is lining up perfect here. We're going to pull power. So you want to be landing this thing around 145 to 150. So everything's looking good here. 156. I'm just aiming to the right of the runway just a little bit to get back on center line. It's very jerky when you're trying to make really small movements. Alright, everything is looking good there. So you can see how little I'm putting on the stick. I'm barely pulling up, and it shoots up. So we're coming in at 150 knots, about 14 degrees AOA. You can see the, I was originally aiming at the threshold of the runway, but it's definitely not on. It's carried me a lot further down. So I'm gonna go to flare, and it pitches uncontrollably. Like I'm barely holding the stick up, and it just violently approaches. We'll try to go for another landing gear up, and we'll go and throw on burner. Okay, we're back on final here for our second attempt. Alright, we're gonna line up with the runway. 155, 157. Oh, see, I barely any input, and the thing just juts all around. Trying to line it up on the runway there. 150. Try to get it in that E-bracket. I'm pushing very little down. It's huge movements. 150. And it is ridiculous. Right on the threshold. AOA's close. It's about 12 degrees. I'm gonna pull power back. We're gonna flare. And I'm full back, and it, yeah, I don't know what that was. I was full back. So either it's too much or not enough. I don't know what's going on with the fly-by-wire. Anyways, we're down. Spree brakes out on the brakes. So final thoughts on the M2K-C is that it looks great both on the exterior and exterior. The guns, missiles, and bombs are an awesome feature, you know, that all fighters should have. But these cool features mean absolutely nothing if the flight model isn't right and enjoyable to fly. So I hope you enjoyed my honest review from my perspective. So like if you did, subscribe if you haven't, and come and be my virtual wingman. Later.